was just wondering, as you start to speak, are you looking at it from the lens of product or service?
Both, actually.
Okay.
I mean, there's obviously sales as a service and then product sales. So I wouldn't say, I mean, we can get into kind of the nuance of each one of those, but the offer is different for both of them, but the systems that you build are essentially pretty much the same. Cool. All right, let's see what we got here. So lead gen funnel, this I just kind of mapped out real quick, would be a good visualization. Lead magnet, if you know that term, that's essentially just the hook, the clickbait, or whatever the offer is that you're going to give to someone in exchange for their email, or like we said earlier, like a low ticket price. So typically that is some sort of, you know, PDF, ebook. I'm sure you've all, if you haven't done one yourself, I'm sure you've all gone through one of these yourselves and kind of entered your email for something in exchange for free from a product that or service that you're interested in. So we get the lead magnet, and then we have the opt-in, and then they take you to a thank you page. The thank you page, I would say, if we're kind of going into this, would be one of the most overlooked, I guess, pages in the whole entire funnel, I think. In my opinion, and what we've had great success with, is that if someone hits your thank you page and they just opt in, they literally just took action within your business. And that is the very best time to get them to move to the next step within your funnel. So on your thank you page, instead of just like the words thank you, see your inbox for your delivery, to me, that's the best place to put a video, another call to action to move them, to bump them up the value ladder and maybe go straight to the next product. And if they don't, so it's the perfect example would be like if you did have a webinar, so you got them to opt in for, maybe for Carrie, if it's like a 10-point checklist for ergonomics, right? So click here from an ad or an email somewhere to get to the opt-in page. They opt in. The next one is like, thank you so much for opting or grabbing that 10-point checklist. While you're here, I have just created this awesome webinar that goes into detail, much more about that, and gives you the exact methods, blah, blah, blah. Create another sort of offer, another sort of hook there to get them to go immediately to the webinar instead of just relying on, if you can see this kind of system that goes down over the next, 2 or 3, 4 days. Does that make sense? So as you can see, if you follow these lines down, I wish I had a mouse. I don't have a mouse to kind of show you where I'm going here, but if you follow the line down, you'll see the LM. So it's lead magnet delivery. That's typically done in an email. Sometimes there's a button right on the page. And then that would take them to download page, get their report. You can do that within the email or to another page. Like we said, it just really depends on how big your ecosystem is and how big your product line is. If you don't have a webinar yet, just send it right to the email. If you do, great idea to kind of get them back to a new page and, like we said, start that process again. And then once you have their email address, well, then you kind of can create a drip series that automatically would be INDOC, stands for like indoctrination. So this person went from being cold traffic, probably never hearing of your business before. You gave them some sort of bait or hook to get them into your ecosystem by giving them a free download. Well, now let's spend some time, now we have this email address, to really indoctrinate them into like who you are, what you do, and how you can help them. Value, value, value. These indoctrinations, you're not really looking to, any call to actions for a paid service. Call to actions for more free content, more value, always a good idea. I usually like to say that almost every email I send for myself or my clients has some sort of call to action in it that gets them to click to go somewhere else. Whether it is another free product, maybe it's a YouTube video that you've done, maybe it's something that another colleague has done, a Medium article or something like that. But all you're trying to do is subconsciously get them used to, when they see an email from you, they're going to click. That way, when it's time for a sales, time for, the right hook, as they say, they're already used to clicking when they see something from you. Cool? Any questions on that? Awesome. So that would be one of the more simple. This would be, to me, like a non-negotiable. Every business should have some sort of lead gen funnel within their system to build their, Carrie?
Well, yeah, but so where are you putting that out into the world to begin with?
Well, typically we'll get into traffic sources here in a little bit, but yeah, okay. Social, YouTube, Google, it could be research like RDA, or it could be Google Display Network. You're going to have to create some sort of traffic source to get to that lead magnet. Right. I guess the myth of if you build it, they will come is very untrue. If you build it, you need to send them there pretty much.
Right.
Which again, we'll get into that in a little bit. Now, obviously, this is a very brief overview. We don't have a ton of time. Within each one of these, pieces to this puzzle, there are definitely a lot of nuances and a lot of best practices, but maybe that's workshop number 2. We'll get into that. So this is the product sales funnel. Again, as you can see here, this would be a fairly robust version of it. So now if we're talking about traffic sources, this could be an ad to Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Taboola, Google, whatever you want it to do that goes to a sales page. I wouldn't recommend going from cold traffic, someone who's never heard of your business before, going straight to a sales page. The lead gen is typically a better way to do to warm them up to the sale. So this would be warm to hot traffic. Have bought from you before or have shown interest in your product. Right to a sales page. Typically have a video, a call to action, some sort of description that outlines the benefits, the pain points, really calls to that, and then a call to action to buy. Click through. The next one would be the order page. So that is, as you've seen, within a funnel, if it's not an e-commerce store, we can pretty much say this is the cart page. This is where you've said, yes, I want to buy this. You go to the next page, enter your information, your credit card, you buy. So then you get the purchase, obviously. Typically within a funnel, and this is the beautiful thing about automation, is that you can then, like we talked about with the lead gen and the thank you page, this is the best time to strike with upselling, cross-selling, whatever, increasing the order value of the purchase, because they've just given you their credit card information. You've just given them enough value that they're willing to pay. Well, now is the time to strike with more value and a one-time offer or something like that. That's just like we said, if you're paying to get people to the sales page, the more money you can get while you're there, because it's really hard to get them back, the better. So that would be upsell number 1. If they take that, you can do that again to upsell number 2. And this is really just sending them through your own personal product line or value ladder. So start off with, say, even if it's a $99 product, it's a quick bump to a $137, quick bump to another $99. Then this one sale just end up being $300 instead of $99. And like we said, if you're paying for traffic, the more you can get per purchase, per transaction, the better. Now, the downsells, if you'll see those, would be if they said no to the upsell. Maybe that instead of like a better version of the product they just bought, they said no to that, so you downsell them to a different version, maybe a different color leash or a different color dog collar, whatever it is. A cross-sell, so a product that goes with it, but is not necessarily the same, better version of the same thing. I actually, because I'm the host and I can see everyone's camera here, I can't even see what's going on. So basically, downsell, upsells, you just take them through this ladder. And like I said, this would be the most robust version of this. I know this doesn't work for every company because, if you're trying to really establish a personal brand of value, you don't really want to be hitting them with, yes, thank you for purchasing, and then I'm going to give you 7 more things to opt in. This would be for a low ticket e-commerce or, something that is, you're really just trying to scale with volume, not necessarily scale with long-term value of your customer. Does that make sense? Cool. Order confirmation. Let's go on to the webinar because this one's the fun one. So this, as I said, pretty much encapsulates both those last 2 into one. This would be a high ticket offer, something that is fairly expensive. And what this replaces is the old school, I guess, sales, door-to-door salesman. Instead of going door to door and kind of giving your pitch of your vacuum, whatever it is, you're actually just getting them to come to you in one spot in an automated way and fully scalable, because you do it once and you just rinse and repeat without you actually having to put the man hours into it. So this would, again, whatever traffic source you choose, if you have built up a good email list from the other 2 processes, then this would be a good place to test this for free. Send an email for free, get people to the registration page, opt in, and then the next thing is a thank you page. Again, the way this one's set up is for if you're registering. So say for this event, say Rachel sent an email last week or Friday maybe that said, hey, we're doing this webinar on Wednesday, opt in today. Now the next page would be a thank you page. This would be a good place to kind of, I guess, pre-frame is the word that we use, which is like, get them whatever they opted in for, say it was sales funnels for this one, just overview general sales funnel, then this would be a good time over the next couple of days to send them more videos and more emails that really just pre-frame what they're going to learn, keep the attention, keep them top of mind until 3 days later, we're going to a live webinar just like this one. Now on that day, we typically like to send 3 emails, one 4 hours out, one an hour before, and one immediately right before. That's, hey, jump on, we're going live right now. As you can see, those arrows go right to the live webinar. You do the webinar. For a high ticket, I would like to say a minimum of 45 minutes, which would be enough time for you to build a story, build the pain points, really kind of paint the picture of why this person needs this product and how much it could help them. And then go through the benefits of the product, go through exactly what they're going to get if they buy. And then at the end, there's an offer to purchase and either become part of your company or purchase your product, whatever it may be. And then, so once that's done, you've obviously recorded this live once, and then you can then send people back to the replay over the next couple of days. Essentially just do the same thing the next day. It's a replay 1, 2, 3 email, which would be like, hey, great, sorry you missed it, no problem. We're actually going to send a replay in 4 hours from now, an hour right before, jump back in. Cool. So any questions on the kind of just general flow of that funnel? No, great. So this, like I said, would be, in the past couple of years, this would be like the most advanced version of the funnel that you would get to. Like, not too many companies would start off with this, but in my mind, with, you know, ad spend and ads being so competitive, you're almost, in my opinion, better off starting with this if you can, because it kind of does everything that the last 2 funnels just did. It indoctrinates them because you have them on a webinar for 45 minutes or an hour. You get their leads because they have to opt in with their email to get in, and then you sell a product at the end. And it's high ticket enough that you can kind of get the value back from your ad spend. Even if you broke even on this for the first couple weeks, well, with the back end and the rest of your funnels built up, then over the next, you know, month, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a year even, the long-term value of that customer that you got in for free, now everything is a bonus, and you're going to have more, I guess, money coming in from that one customer. So that said, that's why we're talking about low ticket, high ticket, medium ticket, which is really just terms for price point of whatever you're offering. I've seen people, and we've done some things fairly successful where this, say if you only have a low ticket product, which would be like, maybe it's a subscription product. It's $45 a month, $49 a month, whatever it is, you're selling supplements. Well, instead of having lead gen to a product page, maybe you do a webinar that is a stacked value. So really the goal of that webinar is to sell your subscription, but within this, the offer is $297, $397, whatever it may be, and they get access to free coaching, free app, an email series, a PDF, and the subscription. So really you're just trying to sell the subscription, but you stack the value so much that now you can increase the price and get people into your ecosystem and have a certain percentage be sales right on the spot, and then follow up to, I guess, increase the sales numbers after the webinar. So does that make sense? I know I'm talking pretty fast here, but we don't have a ton of time. There's a little bit stuff to go over. So any questions on any of that? Yep, Brody.
I just have a quick question about in the webinar funnel. There's a lot of emailing going on, and
yep.
I just kind of wanted to ask, on your personal experience, have you ever noticed like any kind of drop off with like email fatigue or anything like that?
Just within this funnel, or kind of over a longer course of time?
I suppose within this funnel, because I know like just within this funnel, there's, I think, 9 emails kind of set up here. Obviously, that's kind of that's just an example sort of thing. But I know you were saying you like to give 4 hour, 1 hour, and then current notification for things happening. So have you noticed much with this kind of structure?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And to that, I would say the expectation with the email opens are only around 30%. So the reason for the 9 emails is to give, you know, if they missed that one 4 hours ago, got lost in their inbox, or the 2 hours, and then right before, you're really just kind of upping your, instead of 1 email loss, you're really just trying to do everything you can to get that 30% open rate bumped up
Gotcha.
a little bit.
Yeah,
Cool.
makes sense.
And yeah, no, that's a good question though. It really is. And I don't have it on here, but typically the email stuff is there because it's all free. Once you have their email, you're just sending them emails for free. Typically, we would also be sending them ads again. So if they opted in and there's 3 days later, I mean, it's a good question with email fatigue. 3 would be the max you'd want to send, or I guess 9 over 3 days. You wouldn't really want to send more than that because that's just annoying to people. And then after this webinar funnel is done, you really would send 1 or 2 a week with different products, different values. But you can send them ads all day because that's just following them around the internet with their Google display or Facebook, whatever it is, a couple impressions a day. I guess the stigma or the mindset from the consumer is they can just scroll right past an ad if it's in the news feed, or if it's a pre-roll on YouTube, they can skip it. But it's a little bit more invasive if you were sending them 10 emails a day to get to a webinar. So it's not on here because I tried to stay away from the paid traffic as much as I could, because I know that's fairly beginner level and not everyone has a budget of $5,000 a month. But as well as the emails, you're also getting ads, and a lot of those ads are based on the engagement with the email. So we can set up the pixels to be like, if they open pre-frame number 2, send them this ad because they're fairly much more likely to go. And that ad would simply be, make sure you get back to the thing because we're going to go over the special bonus offer. Just kind of create the excitement, create the clickbait a little bit more. And when I say clickbait, I don't mean it in the typical term of clickbait. Clickbait is the reason why it was invented is because the only way to get people to take action is to bait them or set some sort of a hook to get them to where you need them to go. As long as you deliver and execute what that clickbait was on the other side, then that's a good thing in my opinion. Any more questions? That was a good question. Okay, so let's go over the traffic sources really quickly, I guess. The most popular 4 would be these 4 right here. So social can include organic or paid. In 2020, like we said, I don't really think there's anything such thing as organic traffic, but if you had a good following or a good audience there, maybe you could try it, but I wouldn't even bother. I'd still be paying to make sure that my audience and my following saw it. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat are the 3 kind of biggest right now. LinkedIn's really good, but if we're talking about paid traffic, I don't find it as consistent with the data and the algorithms, but it's still, we do it all the time. It's still a good one. It's just not quite as scalable, I'd say, as consistent. YouTube is a big one. As I said here, this may be one of the most underlooked, and I think it's because, and Brody, you could probably test this, it's not amateur friendly, I would say. Google Ads which YouTube is not really set up for the mom and pop shop to go run their own ad campaigns, whereas Facebook is the opposite. They want everyone who has a business to be able to create an ad and send it to their audience. So they've made it super user friendly, where Google Ads is not really like that. But on the flip side, it is much more targeted and much more effective because YouTube's the second biggest search engine in the world. So instead of hoping someone who likes golf will see your ad, you're going to put your video in front of someone who just searched something for golf. Does that make sense? And like the same thing with Google, when we go to keywords, it's the same thing. You're kind of pretty much guaranteeing that someone who searches for a topic is going to see something related to your product, as opposed to a pattern interrupt within their news feed, hoping that because Facebook flagged them or Instagram as someone who likes golf, that they might enjoy your ad. And we can get into why that algorithm, which is relied on quite a bit, is not really the best thing. Maybe in workshop number 3, it's fairly advanced, but like I said, starting with YouTube and Google, if you can, in my opinion, is the best way. Then we talk about email. Email in 2 ways. One, it's not free because you have to pay, I guess, a monthly fee to have a email platform, but it's essentially free. 2 things is, one, you can test really easily because you get data right away of what's getting opened, what's getting clicked, so you can test what you're going to then create into ads. What's the angle that's working with your audience? I don't think there's any warmer or hot traffic than someone who's already given you their information because they're interested in your business. And then within that too, if you build your audience, your email list up enough with purchasers, especially if you can narrow it down to purchasers and people who engage with your product, not necessarily just opted in and never heard from them again. Then you pump those into lookalike audiences in the social Facebook. And now pretty much every ad you do is to warm traffic, because it's either to that list or someone who looks exactly like that person. Any questions on any of that? No? Cool. So this would be the 4 main places that we start. Taboola is another one. Has anyone ever heard of Taboola? Yeah, it's pretty much like it's when you're on a website and you're scrolling, you see those ads that aren't Google ads. It'd be like articles, stuff like that. It's basically a platform that lets you get in front of customers all over the web. And if we're talking about Taboola, Taboola. It's a really good one. If we're talking about traffic sources, like we said, in my opinion, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, they're really good, obviously, traffic sources, but they're not the best, especially when we get into, if we talk about strategy of all these funnels that we built. I would say that anytime you can start with a warm or a hot traffic and work backwards to cold traffic, which I'll explain in a minute, is the best thing to do. And when we're talking about sending people ads based on engaging with either your pages or your email, I find that people put a lot into Facebook and Instagram. But the problem there is, like we talked about, striking while they're hot, while it's top of mind, is the most important thing to do, because as we all know, we'll click on an ad, maybe go see an opt-in, and then we just move on and do whatever we got to do. So relying on only Facebook and Instagram is a little tough, because me, for example, if I clicked on your ad and I went to your page, I probably wouldn't log on to Facebook for 4 days after that. I don't really check Facebook. But Google and YouTube, everything you do on the internet is on those pages. So when you're using Google Display, you're making sure that if they click your ad or engage with your content, wherever they go next, you'll be there. Because you can't really guarantee that they're going to go to Facebook or Instagram right after they've gone to your page or your email. Does that make sense? Yeah, cool. And so, yeah, I feel like we're kind of getting into a little bit of nuanced stuff here, because I'm just talking because no one else is talking, and I feel like I'm just kind of throwing stuff. But I would like to get into some Q&A that would really help, I guess, with directly what you guys are working on, and see if I can help it all right now while we're here. Is that cool? Does anyone have any questions about any of that, or how that could maybe apply to their business, their service?
It's not that I have a lack of questions. I just have so many that I wouldn't know.
That's fair. That's fair. I guess what I would say, just to go, like, a perfect example of how I think the webinar is underused, because I think it's a little bit daunting or intimidating, would be for this. So this webinar we did right now, if we followed that system, there would probably be more people on PEI who would have been interested in sales funnels and taking their business online, right? And so what happens is most people are viewing webinars. Like, you can do this for free, like a lead gen for free, and the next webinar is a paid one. Do you know what I mean? Like, we do almost a mini course for free. The next one will be a paid one. So I think that, like, utilizing these tactics, and like I said, these are just 3 of the main ones. There's 70 different types of funnels you can have within your business. E-commerce is a whole different beast, but I think that people need to start automating their business, because that's the only way to start scaling, and it's the only way to be predictable and get the data back. Each touch point of these funnels, when you have the platform set up right, you will get instant feedback of who's clicking, who's watching, how long they're on the page, all that stuff. So really iterating day by day, making 1% optimizations on each part of this system once the system's built, is the only way to make sure that you have predictable income in 2020. And Brody, feel free to jump in. I know you're doing a lot of this stuff too, so jump in with any comments, questions.
Sure. I actually just had a quick question about your preferred kind of delivery methods. So let's say you are doing a webinar and you're selling it through ads or just even through your website or whatever. What do you find is the best way to kind of distribute the actual product itself? So like after they've opted in, all that kind of stuff, do you find it's hosting it on a YouTube channel, having it privated and supplying them with a link? What do you usually find is best for them?
So where actually does the webinar and the digital product live? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a bunch of platforms like Webinar Jam, EverWebinar. ClickFunnels is probably the number one platform that I use for selling digital products. Pretty much just because the whole platform was built around selling digital products, and especially informational products. Yeah. So typically within those it's basically a landing page or a webinar page, and the YouTube video is hosted right in there. It's not as simple as that. We remove a bunch of the functionality, like typically, especially in the first one, not necessarily the replay, but we would take off the ability to skip, fast forward, all that stuff, because we're paying to get someone here to indoctrinate them and kind of really get them to buy into what it is we're selling or giving. So we really need to make sure the script and the message is followed in the way we laid it out, so that when it comes to time for the offer, the call to action, we've gotten them to a point where they're ready, not only ready to buy, they feel like, yes, this is speaking exactly to my pain points, it's solving exactly what I need, and yes, I'm ready to buy.
And
so I'm not sure if
one
that really
called
answers your
again?
question.
Sorry, what's that one
ClickFunnels.
called? ClickFunnels? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. No problem. And I did mention to Rachel too, after this, anyone who gives me an email, I can send you guys templates of the pages, the breakdown, the layouts of the pages for all this within ClickFunnels, because that's what I use. So I'm happy to send, each page template and kind of the flow of each, if anyone wants them.
I don't know. I feel so amateur at this. Everything you say makes sense. And certainly in my world, I think that the webinar is probably a really good way to go. But I always get anything that I have ever attempted in terms of, the lead gen stuff, like a free thingy, click here and get a free thingy, or anything that I try to do, just, I don't have an audience. And so how do you best generate your audience to start with? Like, it's just like I put things out and it's just kind of like crickets.
Are they put out paid or organic? Are you like doing a post and then get crickets, or you're paying to post an ad?
Yeah.
I mean, so two parts. Feeling like an amateur at this is something definitely not to be ashamed of, or definitely not to feel bad. I would be a complete amateur in ergonomics. So this is what we do for a living. It's not really like, there's a reason why that we do this for a living, and you do what you do. Like, don't worry about that. As far as organics, what I would say to that is Facebook, Google, all these, they're profit generating companies. So they have zero incentive to let you make an organic post and it to go to your target market and your target audience, including your own followers. Their whole entire incentive is to get you to pay to make sure they see it. Does that make sense? So if you're posting organically, really it's just getting lost in the ether, because they want that to happen. They want you to get no results from just making a post and having to create an ad or promoting or boosting the post even. That's the whole way they make money. So it's really, at this point, not even really possible. I mean, I guess if you had 1 million followers and the data percentages were that, 2% were going to see it, well, that's still maybe enough to make you that lead gen profitable or worth it, because that 2% is quite a bit more than our 500 friends. Does that answer your question? The other part of that, I guess, would be target, like market research. So within I guess the flip side of that, the benefit and the pro of this is that because so many people are creating ads and putting pixels on their website, which we can talk about later, which are basically, they capture the data of all the traffic and then send it back to Facebook. Because of that, we can really narrow in within that whole database of people that Facebook has. We can create interest groups of people who maybe their magazines, shows, people, subjects, YouTube channels, or big accounts that fall into people who, if they like those, they would be interested in what you're offering. So we create these audiences and say, hey, send my ad to people who, honestly, I don't really know much about your industry, so I can't even give you any at the top of my head. But do you know what I'm saying? Say if it was golf, we could get into, if you're selling a golf product, send my ad to people who like Titleist, Tiger Woods, Golf Channel, Bubba Watson. You basically create this list of between, 500 and 1 million people that you say, if they like those things, there's a good chance that they're going to be interested in mine. So I created this ad. I have copy. I've created a hook, whatever, to get them to a lead. Send this to these people. And then even further to that, as your ad matures and you get clicks and you build your own pixel data, well, then the Facebook and the Instagram algorithm are going to be really smart in knowing, okay, not only do these people like golf, they actually still like your business too. So I'll show this to people that are very similar to them. So really it takes time to mature, and it takes time for Facebook, the algorithm and the pixels to get data and conversions and traffic on your own product to really know who in this ether of Facebook is going to be interested in yours.
Right.
Would you concur with that, Brody?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of drawing in traffic is really knowing who you're looking for. If you can narrow that down into something decent, I know a little bit more about Carrie's business than you would, Josh. I've known her a little bit longer. You could be looking at, contact, or you could be looking at HR firms. You could be looking at, government agencies. You could be looking at, there's a lot of things that you can kind of pick from what you're looking at and kind of narrow in on those a little bit more. It's something that you're going to have to play around with a little bit, because developing your market research and everything around it, it takes a while. But once you get it and you start seeing some results from it, it'll be quite nice.
I would say one of the biggest things too that we say a lot around here is those who test more win more. Yeah. So testing audiences, testing ad copy, testing ad images, testing landing pages, testing call to actions. Like that's what I said, 1%, these 1% changes really make a difference. So we have a product or a webinar that's making $50,000 a month right now, and we still test little pieces of each part of that funnel every single day. Split test, send 50% of the traffic to 2 different things, see which one works, that one goes. Then we move on. We're really trying to refine these down to the micro, I guess, changes that are going to add 1% more conversions here or 1% more clicks there, because those are what make a difference in the end. And like we said, those are how we really, really refine who our target audience is, because if they're engaging with this, then we know they're here.
I don't know if you want to talk, something, and I scribbled down on my notebook here, how to avoid being annoying. And so Brody kind of went there with all the emails in terms of that webinar, but I also struggle with that final, like we're just inundated with emails these days and ads and this, that, and the other. And I think there's a line, I'm curious kind of in the industry, what the thought is around not being annoying. Like there are companies, I've signed up and I bought their service and I thought it was a good service, but I'm so freaking annoyed by the number of emails that they send me now. I say, to heck with it. I don't even want to deal with you. So that's kind of something I'm always wary of, is how to avoid that.
Yeah, no, I think you're bang on, and we feel the exact same way, especially with email. We're very protective and very, I guess, intentful. Every email we send has intent for that exact reason. We never want to send an email just because it's been 3 days. It always has value and intent if it's not a sales pitch, but even within the sales, it's trying to have value. And that's why I prefer, remarketing was a word. So instead of sending more emails, I would way rather send them more ads, because they then have the choice to, scroll past, skip, not click. And it's way less intrusive because it's 2 seconds instead of filling up your inbox where you got to go delete it. It's annoying. It's spammy. And on the flip side of that, as the email sender, the more times that someone doesn't open your email or you get sent to spam or whatever, that really hurts your deliverability. So protecting that the smart companies protect that just as much as the consumer wants to too. They want it to be a very mutually beneficial relationship so that you're feeling like you're getting the content and the value that you want, but you're not being bombarded. And another thing too on that point, we do this all the time, just ask. It's very easy to say, hey, what do you think of our emails so far? Do you like this? Reply for this, or send 2 different emails, split test those and see which ones are getting more. Like, it's consumers, and you're probably the same way. If a brand you were really following, a brand you really like, actually reached out to you and said, do you enjoy the stuff that we're sending you? I'm sure you would probably, a small percentage would say, give their time to give your opinion. And then that's the best market research you could ever have right there. Good questions, though. And I guess the short answer is it's really hard not to be annoying, because you really, you have to make, you're trying to run a business, and the only way to get in front of these people is to send them stuff. At the end of the day, you have to always, like, it's their choice to open, even not to unsubscribe. They can go ahead and do that. Like, once again, on the flip side, if someone unsubscribes, to me, that's not a negative, because that is someone that, A, we're paying to have on our email platform, which are usually charged by how many people you have on your list. And it's also, again, it's good feedback. Like, okay, what we're having is not working. We're sending 4 emails a week and we're getting this many unsubscribes a week. We got to change up the model a little bit. It's just feedback. Any other questions? I'm trying to think of like what the typical ones off the top of my head. Like I said, within each of these aspects, I think one of the most overlooked pieces of, I guess, digital marketing and sales funnels is that creating this system is just the building blocks. Each aspect of this, each landing page, each piece of copy, each piece of creative, each email you send, there's nuances within each one of those. Like, what's the goal of an email? In my opinion, all it is, subject line, the only goal of that is to get someone to open. Not know what's inside. All you're trying to do is bait them enough to open, because then that gives you feedback on the other end. Yes, this works. Yes, they're interested or not. If you give everything away in the subject line, they'll just scroll past it. The body, same thing. You're really just trying to get someone to click. So we always say, like, the subject line sells the open, the body sells the click, the landing page sells whatever it is you're trying to get, the conversion. And that's really done because the only way to get the data on the back end over a long period of time is to see what's working. And so if you just let someone make a decision on the computer screen, you're never going to know if you gave it all away. Even in the ads, the same thing. A Facebook ad, YouTube ad, Instagram ad, the only goal of that is to get someone to click. Not giving away what it is you're selling, what you're doing. All you're trying to do is see what angle is working with this target audience to get them here. We'll create the pitch on the sales page, but we don't want them to make a decision in wherever they are, YouTube or Facebook. And then, yeah, so like even within those ads, the copy, there's like so many different kind of nuances, like in formulas that work. So it's a bit of a beast for sure, but in my mind, this is like Web 3.0. This is where you need to be in 2020. If you're not going to build these predictable, data-driven kind of automated systems, then each piece of the puzzle is just going to be working separately, and you're never going to be able to really have any predictability. Where are we at for time here?
Sweet. Does anyone have any more questions? And so if people want to get in touch with you down the road, Josh, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so it's just Josh at vesseymedia.com, sorry. Absolutely reach out for sure. Here it is right here, look at that. A lot of animations, isn't it? And went right to that one. Too many animations. Yeah, so Josh at vesseymedia.com. My phone number is 902-388-0763. Absolutely reach out. Especially, like I said, if anyone wants the the templates for the landing pages and the lead gens, absolutely send me an email. I will say, full disclosure, when you share a file through ClickFunnels, it does ask the recipient to have a bump for an affiliate. I'm trying to work around that right now because really I just want to give you these for free. But if you don't have an account already, sometimes it says that I'm going to get an affiliate fee. So I am trying to find a work around that. But if I can't, you could just look at them and create your own some other time if you want. Importing them in, I may get a fee. And like I said, that's not the goal of this. But full disclosure, if you get that bump, that was not the goal.
Okay.
Awesome, sweet. Well, yeah, if no one else has anything else, we might wrap it up then. But thanks a lot, Josh, for coming out. This was great, like always, and we'll be in touch for probably some more sessions down the road. But yeah,
Sure.
I encourage everyone to reach out to Josh if you want any follow-ups in this stuff. He does a lot of consultations. So
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And thanks for having me. And sorry if I left you guys with more questions than answers.
thanks so much, Josh.
Thank you.